Hey warriors, welcome back to the channel. I watched my best friend destroy himself being the good guy. He gave everything, forgave everyone, sacrificed his peace for people who didn't even remember his name. 3 years later, I saw him again. He wasn't broken anymore. He was ruthless. And he told me something I'll never forget. He said, "The world didn't change. I did. I stopped being easy to break." That sentence stuck with me, because deep down I realized it wasn't just his story. It was mine, and it's yours too. Right now, there are 2 versions of you. Version 1, the one that explains, apologizes, tolerates, and keeps hoping people will change. You bend over backwards to be understood, respected, loved. But the more you give, the less they see your value. Then there's version 2, the silent one, the certain one, the one who doesn't argue, doesn't beg, doesn't chase. They just remove, without noise, without guilt. You've been living as version 1 for too long, and it's killing you. It's made you soft where you should be sharp, kind where you should be calculated. Machiavelli once wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." And he wasn't talking about cruelty. He was talking about control, about knowing when to stop being the person who breaks for others. Today, I'm going to show you how to awaken version 2, the ruthless version of you. The one Machiavelli wrote about. The one people sense but can never manipulate. There are 8 shifts that separate these 2 versions of you. Each one will demand a piece of your old self. Each one will feel like you're burning what used to define you. But if you stay until the end, you'll walk away unrecognizable to the person you were before. You'll stop seeking peace from others and start generating it from within. You'll learn the power of being untouchable. Because this world will break you unless you become ruthless. And before we begin, I want you to drop this in the comments. I will not break again. Number 1, stop giving yourself to the ungrateful. The first transformation into ruthlessness begins when you realize this. Your biggest weakness was never your heart. It was where you placed it. You've been bleeding energy into people who feed off your light, but never once give it back. You kept helping, forgiving, explaining, hoping that maybe, just maybe, they'd finally see your worth. But they never do. Why? Because in the psychology of power, what's freely given is subconsciously devalued. People instinctively equate generosity with inferiority. They assume if you give too easily, it's because you need to be liked. And the moment someone senses your need, they control you. That's how weakness is born. Not from failure, but from emotional dependence disguised as kindness. Machiavelli once said, "Men are quicker to offend one who is loved than one who is feared." The ungrateful exploit your goodness precisely because they don't fear losing it. They know you'll stay. They know you'll forgive. They know that no matter how badly they treat you, you'll rationalize their behavior with excuses like, "They're just going through something." That's not compassion. That's self-delusion. The truth is, people remember pain, not kindness. They respect consequences, not explanations. The more predictable your mercy, the more invisible you become. Every time you tolerated disrespect, you trained them to see you as disposable. Every time you explained your worth, you confirmed you had to prove it. That's the silent psychology behind why the good get broken first. The world doesn't destroy you because you're kind. It destroys you because you confuse being kind with being harmless. The ungrateful are predators in human form. They don't hunt your body, they hunt your guilt. They make you feel bad for protecting yourself. They twist your empathy into a weapon and stab you with it. So, stop thinking you owe anyone your loyalty just because you once cared. Your care is a privilege, not a right. Give it only to those who have earned it through consistent respect. Everyone else should feel the sharpness of your absence. Detachment is your defense. Indifference is your revenge. Machiavelli understood this deeply when he said, "Men are ungrateful, fickle, false, cowardly, and covetous." He was warning you, never give power to the ungrateful, because they'll use it to weaken you. You must unlearn the belief that being good will save you. Goodness without boundaries is a death sentence. Ruthlessness is not cruelty, it's correction. It's the moment you stop rewarding betrayal with access. When you stop answering every call, stop forgiving every lie, stop explaining your silence, the ungrateful panic. They realize they can't feed off your emotional reactions anymore. That's when power shifts. You become the one who decides who gets your attention and who fades into irrelevance. The world belongs to those who conserve their energy like a weapon, not those who waste it like a wish. Every ounce of strength you pour into the wrong people is power stolen from your future. Withdraw it, hoard it, rebuild it. Let them wonder what happened to your warmth. Tell them it froze when you finally saw the truth. Some people deserve your distance more than your devotion. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My kindness has limits. Number 2, turn pain into power. Pain is the purest teacher because it never lies. It doesn't flatter your ego. It doesn't care about your excuses. It exposes you, strips you, burns everything weak inside you until only the real you remains. The difference between the broken and the powerful isn't the amount of pain they've felt. It's what they did with it. Weak people drown in pain because they keep searching for fairness. They still think the world owes them healing. But ruthless minds know the truth. Pain is currency. You either spend it building yourself or waste it by complaining. The ones who rise from destruction are not lucky. They're strategic. They look at betrayal, heartbreak, and failure, and instead of asking, "Why me?" they ask, "What is this teaching me about control?" Machiavelli once said, "Never waste the opportunity offered by a good crisis." Every moment of suffering is an opportunity to evolve into someone untouchable. Pain is not punishment. It's information. It tells you exactly where your weakness lives. Every betrayal shows you who you trusted too easily. Every rejection reveals where you placed your worth. Every loss exposes the illusion of permanence. When you start viewing pain through that lens, it stops being a wound and becomes a weapon. You start using it to sharpen your mind instead of destroy it. The dark psychology of transformation lies in transmuting suffering into strategy. Most people cry to feel better. The strong reflect to get stronger. When they're hurt, they don't chase closure. They create power. They study their enemies instead of hating them. They analyze their mistakes instead of escaping them. They turn every heartbreak into emotional discipline, every disappointment into focus. That's the essence of Machiavellian resilience, to use the world's cruelty as fuel, not as chains. Pain is the forge where dominance is born. When life breaks you, it's showing you who you really are without masks. Stop running from it. Sit with it. Feel every ounce of the fire. Because once you survive your own suffering, no one else can control you with fear. The moment you stop fearing pain, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is power. When others try to manipulate you through guilt or rejection, it no longer works, because you've already faced worse and survived. Machiavelli believed that a wise man learns more from misfortune than from comfort. That's because pain activates awareness. It forces evolution. It silences illusion. You start seeing people for who they are, not who you wished they'd be. You start choosing logic over emotion. The more you endure, the less reactive you become. You move like someone who's already been through the fire and lived. That energy commands respect because it's dangerous. People feel it when you walk into a room, the aura of someone who has turned every wound into wisdom. You no longer carry scars with shame. You wear them like armor. Your silence becomes heavy, your gaze steady. That's when you know you've crossed over, from being shaped by pain to shaping others through it. The next time life hurts you, don't curse it. Study it. Ask yourself, what advantage is hidden here? Because every moment of agony carries a seed of dominance, if you're ruthless enough to use it. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My pain builds power. Number 3, kill the need to be understood. The hunger to be understood is the trap that keeps powerful minds chained to mediocrity. You keep explaining yourself, hoping people will see your intentions, your goodness, your truth. But here's the harsh reality. Most don't care to understand you. They only care to categorize you. They don't listen to comprehend. They listen to find weakness. The more you explain, the more information you give them to use against you. In dark psychology, understanding equals control. When people know your motives, they know how to manipulate you. That's why the ruthless stay silent. They let others guess, project, assume. And in that confusion, they remain untouchable. Machiavelli once said, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. And to command, you must never over-explain. Because explaining is a defensive act. It reveals that you still seek validation. Power doesn't justify itself. It simply exists. The most intimidating people are the ones who don't explain why they act, feel, or disappear. Their silence creates tension. That tension creates respect. The weak beg to be seen. The strong choose to be misunderstood. You must understand that when you stop defending yourself, you become unpredictable. And unpredictability is fear's twin. People can't control what they can't read. That's why rulers, leaders, and strategists throughout history mastered the art of ambiguity. They spoke less than they knew and acted more than they explained. You must learn to do the same. Every time you rush to explain your intentions, you give away the blueprint of your emotions. You're teaching others how to disarm you. The dangerous thing about being transparent is that it invites dissection. And dissection always kills the magic of power. Machiavelli wrote, "The wise man does at once what the fool does, finally." The wise stop justifying themselves early, while the fool keeps talking until he's exposed. You don't owe anyone clarity about your choices. You don't owe anyone an explanation for your distance, your silence, your standards, or your change. Let them misunderstand. Let them assume you've become cold, arrogant, detached. Every false label they give you adds another layer to your armor. The moment you stop trying to correct them, you regain control. Because control lives in restraint. Silence is not weakness, it's weaponized composure. It makes others nervous because they can't predict your next move. And uncertainty makes them cautious. That's psychological dominance. Think of the most powerful people you've ever met. They weren't loud, they were composed. Their presence demanded attention, not because they shouted, but because they didn't need to. Every word they didn't say spoke louder than 1,000 justifications. You must become that kind of presence. A mystery no one can fully grasp. A storm that doesn't announce itself. When someone tries to provoke you, let your silence suffocate their ego. When someone misjudges you, let them sit in their own assumption. The truth is your weapon. Don't waste it proving your innocence. Those who need to understand you don't deserve to. Those who truly value you will never need an explanation. Power is not about convincing others. It's about becoming so self-assured that their confusion no longer matters. Once you stop needing to be understood, you finally begin to understand yourself. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence speaks power. Number 4. Detach, don't beg. Begging for attention, love, or closure is how the powerful become slaves. The more you chase what's walking away, the smaller you become in the eyes of those who never intended to value you. Detachment is not coldness, it's control. It's the skill of walking away from anything that threatens your self-respect, no matter how much you wanted it. Most people mistake attachment for loyalty, but they are opposites. Loyalty is strength. Attachment is dependence. The world has conditioned you to believe that fighting for people proves your care. But in dark psychology, the one who chases always loses power. The act of begging, whether for time, affection, or attention, broadcasts weakness, and weakness invites exploitation. Machiavelli once wrote, "The one who is not master of himself cannot be master of others." When your emotions rule you, you are easy to control. The ruthless detach, not because they lack emotion, but because they refuse to be owned by it. When someone pulls away, they don't argue or explain, they observe. When someone disrespects them, they don't plead, they vanish. Silence becomes their sword, and absence becomes their message. In a world built on emotional manipulation, detachment is the ultimate rebellion. It terrifies manipulators because it kills their power source, your reaction. Once you stop reacting, you become unreadable. And when you're unreadable, you become feared. The secret weapon of the powerful is not rage, it's indifference. Indifference burns colder than hate and lasts longer than love. When people can no longer predict how you'll respond, they lose their control over your mind. That's the moment your energy begins to shift. You stop being the one who waits and start being the one who decides. The ones who once ignored you start to notice your silence, because silence, from a once reactive person, is louder than any confrontation. Detachment gives you a strange kind of authority. The authority to walk away from chaos with your peace intact. Machiavelli believed that control over one's emotions was the foundation of every successful ruler, because those who cannot detach are doomed to be controlled by those who can. He said, "Men are driven by two principal impulses, either by love or by fear. If you can master your attachment, you will control both." The ruthless understand that not everyone deserves access, not every emotion deserves expression, and not every relationship deserves revival. You must learn to withdraw your energy without announcement, to close doors quietly, and to make your distance feel like punishment. That's psychological warfare at its most elegant form. The more you detach, the more power you reclaim. You begin to realize that peace is not found in connection. It's found in control. True strength is when you can love someone deeply, yet walk away the moment they threaten your self-respect. Detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It means you care correctly, about yourself first. Because when you stop begging, you stop bleeding. And when you stop bleeding, no one can feed on you again. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose peace over people. Number 5. Boundaries are your armor. Boundaries are the invisible walls that separate power from chaos. Without them, your life becomes an open field where anyone can enter, take what they want, and leave you empty. You've been taught to believe that saying no is selfish, that setting limits makes you unkind. But in truth, the absence of boundaries is self-betrayal. Every time you tolerate disrespect, every time you forgive without consequence, every time you let people cross lines to keep the peace, you surrender pieces of yourself. Weak men and women confuse tolerance with strength. The ruthless know better. They understand that a heart without armor is a target. Machiavelli once wrote, "A prince who is not wise himself cannot be well advised." What he meant was simple. If you cannot guard yourself, no one else will. The world doesn't honor openness, it exploits it. The ones who smile at your kindness today will use your forgiveness tomorrow. That's the nature of unchecked human desire. People always test the limits you refuse to enforce. Boundaries are not walls to keep others out. They are gates that protect what's sacred inside you. They are not cruelty, they are clarity. And clarity terrifies manipulators because it removes their leverage. In dark psychology, boundaries are weapons of control. The person who enforces them dictates the terms of every relationship. When you calmly say no without guilt, you communicate dominance. When you cut off access after betrayal, you announce that your worth is non-negotiable. The powerful don't argue about respect. They demonstrate it through distance. Forgiveness without consequences is submission. Mercy without structure invites chaos. The moment you stop rewarding bad behavior with your presence, you begin to command silence from those who once disrespected you. The fearful will call it arrogance. The weak will label it ego, but the wise will recognize it as self-command. Machiavelli also said, "He who allows himself to be deceived is deserving of deception." You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. The moment you start protecting your space like a fortress, the parasites vanish, the noise fades, and your peace returns. That's when you finally see who values you for real, those who respect your rules instead of resenting them. Boundaries attract quality and repel corruption. They filter the loyal from the opportunistic, the genuine from the manipulative. They make your presence feel earned, not available. To live without boundaries is to live without dignity. To live with them is to command your world with quiet authority. The ruthless know that kindness without defense invites destruction. So they build walls not out of fear, but out of wisdom. Because the goal isn't to be liked, it's to be respected. Remember, every boundary you set is a declaration. This is where my peace begins, and those who truly value you will never ask you to lower your armor. They'll stand outside it with honor. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. My boundaries protect me. Number 6. Master the art of silence. Silence is the weapon the powerful use when words lose their value. Most people fear silence because it exposes their lack of control. They talk to fill the air, to prove their confidence, to seek validation through noise. But every unnecessary word you speak becomes ammunition for someone else's manipulation. The wise understand that in a world addicted to talking, silence is dominance. Machiavelli once wrote, "Never reveal all your thoughts, for it makes you predictable and vulnerable." The moment people can read your emotions, they can calculate your reactions. And the one who can predict, you can control you. Silence makes you unreadable. It builds an atmosphere of mystery that forces others to second-guess themselves. The quiet man in the room always holds more power than the one shouting for attention. In dark psychology, silence is not emptiness, it's strategy. It shifts the balance of control without confrontation. When you say nothing, you let others reveal everything. They expose their insecurities, motives, and weaknesses while trying to understand you. The ruthless use this to their advantage. They listen more than they speak, observe more than they explain, and act more than they promise. The weak rush to prove their point. The strong wait for the perfect moment to strike. Every pause you hold in a conversation increases your authority. Every time you let others fill the silence, They unknowingly surrender information. Machiavelli believed that power thrives in perception. The less people know about your intentions, the more they fear them. Silence creates psychological tension. It makes others project their fears onto you. They start wondering what you're thinking, what you might do next, and that uncertainty gives you invisible control. This is why silence isn't absence, it's presence magnified. You don't need to shout to be heard. Your restraint speaks louder than chaos. The loudest person rarely holds power. They crave it. But the silent one already possesses it. The rulers of history understood this truth. The less you reveal, the more they imagine. The more they imagine, the more they obey. You must learn to weaponize your calm, to use silence as your language. When someone insults you, stay silent and watch them unravel in their own guilt. When someone provokes you, give no reaction and let their desperation expose them. Your silence will echo louder than any argument. People expect noise. They fear stillness. In stillness lies control. Machiavelli said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." The fool defends himself with words. The wise guard himself with quiet. The moment you stop explaining, you shift from emotional to strategic. You stop playing defense and start commanding the game. Power doesn't beg to be understood. It demands to be felt. Silence makes you unpredictable, and unpredictability breeds respect. When you learn to hold your tongue, you learn to hold your power. And in a world where everyone wants to be heard, the one who masters silence becomes impossible to defeat. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence controls chaos. Number 7. Never show full loyalty. Loyalty is a weapon only when it's selective. The moment you give it blindly, it becomes your cage. Machiavelli warned that men are ungrateful, fickle, and deceitful, so to expect pure loyalty is to invite betrayal. Power belongs to those who know when to align and when to withdraw. The world is not moved by goodness, it is moved by strategy. When you show absolute loyalty to anyone, a friend, a mentor, or a leader, you surrender your independence. They start to view your devotion as weakness, not virtue. The loyal are predictable, and predictability is death in the game of power. Dark psychology teaches that loyalty must be a calculated act, never an emotional one. True Machiavellian loyalty is conditional. It serves your growth, your protection, your rise. Once it stops serving those, it must be re-evaluated. Most people remain loyal out of fear. Fear of being alone, fear of being labeled untrustworthy, fear of losing approval. But these are the same people who end up discarded, betrayed, or replaced when they are no longer useful. The powerful never attach themselves to the person. They attach to the opportunity. They know alliances shift like tides. They don't resist it. They ride it. Your loyalty should be a mask, not your identity. You wear it when it benefits you, and you remove it when it becomes a liability. This is not cruelty. It's realism. The world rewards those who think, not those who feel. Machiavelli wrote, "A wise man ought never to make himself depend wholly on one thing or one person. Dependence kills autonomy, and autonomy is the root of dominance. Never reveal where your true allegiance lies. Let people believe you're on their side, but remain free internally." The illusion of loyalty is far more powerful than loyalty itself. It keeps others comfortable while keeping you untouchable. In politics, business, and personal life, this is how empires are built. Kings fall because they trust too deeply. Subordinates are eliminated because they serve too faithfully. Friends turn enemies because they expect equality where hierarchy rules. When you are too loyal, people stop respecting you. They test your boundaries, they exploit your devotion, and they stop fearing your withdrawal. Fear maintains order. When people know you can walk away without hesitation, they treat your loyalty as a privilege, not a guarantee. That's how you command respect. You must learn to give loyalty like a sword, sharp, deliberate, and only when it cuts in your favor. Never give it like a gift. Gifts are forgotten, but weapons are remembered. This mindset makes you unpredictable, which is the ultimate psychological advantage. They can't manipulate someone they can't define. And that's the essence of Machiavellian power, to remain a mystery in plain sight, loyal in appearance, but sovereign in reality. The modern world will call this cold or heartless, but those are the words of the powerless, the same ones who worship those who betrayed them. Remember this truth: loyalty without strategy is self-betrayal. You owe nothing to anyone who would not bleed for your survival. Your allegiance must always belong to your purpose, not to the people who come and go along the way. Number 8. Become untouchable. Becoming untouchable is the ultimate evolution of power. It is the point where no insult, betrayal, or manipulation can pierce your armor. This state isn't about cruelty or arrogance. It's about complete sovereignty over yourself. The world will always throw chaos at you. People will always test your patience, and circumstances will never bend to your desires. The weak break, the fearful react, and the unprepared crumble. But the untouchable, they move like a shadow over the battlefield, unaffected, unshaken, unowned. Machiavelli once wrote, "He who is wise will be master of himself, for he who is mastered by others is never free." True freedom comes from inner mastery. To become untouchable, you must stop chasing love, approval, and validation. These are illusions, traps that keep you tethered to other people's whims. The world does not reward kindness, nor does it honor virtue. It respects power, self-possession, and relentless clarity. When you stop relying on others to feed your ego, you start to reclaim your energy. That energy becomes a fortress, shielding you from manipulation, deceit, and distraction. The untouchable build themselves deliberately. They invest in skills, discipline, and strategy rather than approval. They cultivate patience, presence, and quiet confidence. Their reputation is not earned by noise, but by consistency and invisible authority. Dark psychology reveals that people fear what they cannot control. Once you detach from expectation, from reaction, from the need to be understood or loved, you become a psychological enigma. No one can predict your moves. No one can pull strings on your mind. You've removed the levers. The untouchable do not act out of emotion. They act from strategy. Anger is measured, fear is irrelevant, and desire is disciplined. Every reaction is intentional. Every silence is meaningful. You become the axis around which chaos spins, unmoved by the storms that collapse others. Machiavelli said, "It is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both." Being feared isn't about terror. It's about presence, control, and the awareness that crossing you has a cost. Untouchability is the ability to make people hesitate before testing you. It is the quiet declaration that you are no longer accessible for exploitation. No betrayal, no insult, no manipulation can unsettle you because you are complete within yourself. You are no longer a reflection of others' opinions. You are the sum of your own strategy and willpower. To reach this stage, you must shed the last remnants of dependence. The need to justify, the need to forgive, the need to be recognized. You must rise above attachment, resentment, and longing. The untouchable do not flinch because they understand the impermanence of external validation. They are anchored to themselves, and that anchor cannot be uprooted by circumstance. When you reach this level, power becomes effortless. People sense it instinctively. They either respect it or fear it, but they cannot ignore it. You are no longer a participant in the manipulations of others. You are the standard by which influence and control are measured. You move through the world untouchable because you have mastered the only thing that ever mattered: yourself. Drop this affirmation in the comments: nothing can break me. The world will try to break you. It will test your patience, betray your trust, and punish your kindness. It will show you that fairness is a myth, that people are unpredictable, and that the only thing you can truly rely on is yourself. For too long, you've allowed others to dictate your peace. You've given your energy to the unworthy, begged for understanding, and let attachment chain you to disappointment. But that ends today. You now have the blueprint to become someone no one can manipulate, no one can exploit, no one can touch. You've learned to stop giving to the ungrateful. You've turned your pain into power. You've killed the need to be understood, detached from what drains you, and fortified yourself with unbreakable boundaries. You've mastered silence, commanded respect through calm, wielded loyalty strategically, and evolved into someone untouchable. None of this is luck. None of it is easy. But every step you take in this direction strips the world of its leverage over you. Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." Today, you are choosing wisdom. You are choosing control. You are choosing ruthlessness in the most disciplined, silent, and powerful sense. This is the version of you that the world cannot bend, cannot manipulate, and cannot break. The road ahead will not be simple, and there will be challenges. But every trial now becomes a tool. Every betrayal becomes a lesson. Every obstacle becomes an opportunity to demonstrate that you are no longer available for exploitation. The untouchable are forged in fire, sharpened by strategy, and protected by self-mastery. Stand firm in this truth. Walk through life with clarity and composure. Become the person who moves without apology, who commands without announcement, who rises without permission. And as you take this path, remember, the world will notice the difference, but only after you are untouchable. If you found value in this guide, make sure to hit the like button, share this video with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to the channel for more strategies that make you stronger, smarter, and impossible to break. You are no longer the version that bends, you are the version that rules. Drop this final affirmation in the comments. I am untouchable now.